Nobody expected the opening match of the 2026 FIFA World Cup to unfold quite like this. On paper, it looked like the perfect opportunity for Mexico to start their home World Cup campaign with a victory. The atmosphere inside the iconic Estadio Azteca was electric. Tens of thousands of fans filled the stands, the entire country was watching, and the pressure on the Mexican players couldn't have been any higher. But what happened over the next 90 minutes wasn't just a victory, it was a statement that Mexico are here to compete, a statement that the World Cup has officially begun, and a statement that South Africa learned the hard way. From the very first whistle, Mexico looked determined to take control. They weren't interested in easing into the tournament. They wanted to dominate immediately. Every attack carried purpose. Every challenge carried intensity. Every pass seemed designed to push South Africa further and further back. The hosts pressed aggressively high up the pitch, refusing to allow South Africa any time on the ball. Whenever South Africa tried to build an attack, Mexican players swarmed around them, forcing mistakes and disrupting any rhythm before it could develop. And it didn't take long for that pressure to pay off. Just a few minutes into the match, South Africa lost possession in a dangerous area. Mexico reacted instantly. The ball was recovered, moved forward quickly, and suddenly Julian Quinones found himself with an opportunity. He didn't hesitate. One clean strike, one powerful finish, and the stadium exploded. The opening goal of the 2026 FIFA World Cup belonged to Mexico, but the goal was about more than simply taking the lead. It revealed the story that would define the entire match. Mexico's relentless pressure was forcing South Africa into mistakes. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was a tactical plan working perfectly. The hosts continued to dominate possession and territory. Their midfield controlled the tempo. Their attackers constantly stretched the South African defense, and every forward movement seemed capable of creating danger. South Africa struggled to respond. Whenever they attempted to move the ball forward, Mexico closed down the spaces. Whenever they looked to build confidence, Mexico disrupted their momentum. As the first half continued, the game felt increasingly one-sided. Mexico created chances. Mexico controlled possession. Mexico dictated the pace. Yet despite their dominance, they only had a one-goal advantage. And in football, a one-goal lead can disappear in an instant. The second half would determine whether Mexico's control would be rewarded or punished. What happened next completely changed the game. Only minutes after the restart, South Africa suffered a massive setback. A reckless challenge resulted in a red card. Suddenly, South Africa were down to 10 men, and everything became much harder. At this level, playing against a team as confident as Mexico with only 10 players is an enormous challenge. Spaces become larger. Defensive responsibilities increase. Fatigue arrives faster. Mexico sensed the opportunity immediately. The passing became quicker. The attacks became more dangerous. The pressure intensified. South Africa were no longer trying to equalize. They were trying to survive. But even with the numerical advantage, Mexico still needed a second goal. One goal would secure the victory. One goal would remove all doubt. And that moment arrived in the 67th minute. A brilliant delivery into the penalty area found Raul Jimenez. The experienced striker timed his run perfectly. He rose above the defense, and with a powerful header, he sent the ball into the back of the net. The stadium erupted once again. Mexico had their second goal, but what made the moment special wasn't just the finish. It was the emotion behind it. For Raul Jimenez, this goal represented years of hard work, setbacks, injuries, and perseverance. Standing on the biggest stage in football and scoring for his country in a home World Cup was a dream fulfilled. You could see exactly what it meant to him, and the fans felt it too. At that moment, the match was effectively decided. South Africa's hopes were fading. Mexico's confidence was growing, but the drama wasn't over. As frustration began to build among the South African players, discipline started to disappear. challenges became more aggressive. Emotions started taking over. Eventually, another red card reduced South Africa to 9 men. The game had transformed from a competitive contest into a test of composure. Mexico remained focused. They controlled possession, they managed the tempo, and they avoided taking unnecessary risks. Even so, the tension of the occasion wasn't completely gone. Late in the match, Mexico themselves were reduced to 10 men after a red card of their own, creating one final twist in an already dramatic opening encounter. But by then, the result was no longer in doubt. When the final whistle arrived, Mexico had secured a 2-0 victory and collected the first 3 points of their World Cup campaign. So what actually decided this match? The answer isn't simply the red cards. The answer is Mexico's approach from the very beginning. They pressed harder. They moved the ball faster. They controlled the midfield. They created more dangerous opportunities. And perhaps most importantly, they looked completely prepared for the occasion. While South Africa struggled to settle into the game, Mexico embraced the moment. They played with confidence. They played with intensity. And they played with purpose. Julian Quinones provided the breakthrough. Raul Jimenez delivered the emotional knockout blow. The midfield controlled the battle, and the defense ensured the clean sheet. For South Africa, there are lessons to learn. The defensive mistakes, the discipline issues, and the inability to handle Mexico's pressure all contributed to a difficult night. The tournament is far from over, but improvements will be needed quickly if they hope to advance from the group stage. For Mexico, however, this was close to the perfect start. A victory, a clean sheet, 2 goals, 3 points, and an unforgettable opening night in front of their own supporters. The road ahead will become more challenging. Stronger opponents will arrive. Bigger tests are waiting. But if this performance is any indication of what Mexico can produce throughout this tournament, then the rest of the world should be paying very close attention. Because the hosts have made their first move, and it was a powerful one.